So Concordia University, Wisconsin, Ann Arbor, CUWAA. One university with two campuses. That's how Pat Ferry coined it in 2013.
Which wasn't always the case, right?
No. Ann Arbor was an independent university, but I'm telling you, when the facts are actually looked at, Concordia Ann Arbor was failing before 2013, bankrupt, almost to the point of bankruptcy. Pat Ferry and CUW, my alma mater, I'm a graduate of CUW. Pat Ferry and Al Prock now worked to figure out whether or not CUW could assume the Ann Arbor campus. And so they did. They worked out a deal with Synod, and they took all the assets, all the liabilities, all the debts, everything. The English district, Ohio district, Michigan district, Indiana district, Northern Illinois district, South Wisconsin, the Michigan Church Extension Fund, we all contributed money. CEF of Michigan took a loss on the loans that they had, and they redid everything financially to get Mequon on the road. And so CUWAA was born. Pat Ferry decided that they were going to keep the campuses independent, but they're one university with two separate campus lives. So CUAA had its own athletic programs, and they were NAIA, and CUW is Division III, and they had their own, the Blue Falcon and the Red Cardinal. And you had two separate cultures, but one university.
Two different presidents?
No, Pat was the president, but Pat had assigned campus executives. First, it was Kurt Gilo, wonderful man. It lives in Mequon, former mayor of Mequon. I know him well. I work with him right now on a Concordia Ventures, which is a cap asset. We do venture capitalism to give money to projects and stuff. And he's a phenomenal guy. He had the first couple of years. And then Pat put Ryan Peterson, who now here is working for St. Paul, Concordia St. Paul. Okay. Ryan's a friend of mine. And so for 10 years, Concordia Ann Arbor has been going, and for the last 5 or 6 has been growing. Even hit to the point where the state of Michigan said it was the fastest growing private college in Michigan. And so in February, but all along, let me be very clear, all along, they were losing money. They were losing money all along in the operational side.
Which was that the prime? I mean, obviously they were close to bankruptcy, so that was the prime issue pre-2020 or pre-2013.
Well, the issue,
were their numbers also going down at that time? So both were going down.
So numbers were going down both in enrollment and in finance. It was falling apart in 2013. Actually, CUW taking it over gave it 10 more years of prosperousness. But Mequon, when they took it over in 2013, was turning about a $10 million black bottom line profit in operations.
Wow.
Last fiscal year, not immediately last, but 2023, they lost $8 million. Last year, they lost, Ann Arbor campus lost $2 million in operations. That's not the full financial picture, because you have endowment performance. And a lot of people, when they hear me say that, they want to go nuts and say, well, the gifts and bequests. And it's true. There are other forms of income. But Dr. Ankerberg, the president, he wants to operate on a neutral basis, because we don't know what the future of higher ed is going to be.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is my position as well. I want to be clear, and this is why I'm part of the evil empire with a lot of people, because as a businessman, I believe we need to do our best to operate as close to net neutral and zero as possible. Because when things go bad, like today, the market dropped $2,600. For anybody who's close to retirement, they're freaking out. Well, let me just give you a quick economic lesson. In being a former undergraduate of business, you probably know this. The Dow Jones Industrial Average over the last 30 years have had at least one 10% downward correction. And within 30 to 45 days from that low point, it has rebounded. This is not about market timing. This is just historical data, right? It has rebounded 3 to 5% from the low point in 30 to 45 days. So these people that panic and they sell their assets and in 2008, when the housing crisis hit, if you stayed invested and didn't sell your assets and your portfolio went 50% down, if you'd have stayed in that investment where you had, within about a 6 or 7 month period from the low point, you would have made money.
Yeah, I trade crypto, so I do that every 3 months.
Well, can I borrow a Bitcoin? That's what I want to know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't have a full Bitcoin, but I know somebody.
Bennett, you got some Bitcoin?
The Stanchfield endowment.
That's right. I got some buddies who do that, and I got a buddy who wanted me to get in at 2,000, and this was the biggest regret of my life. But anyways, don't get me going. I'll start crying. But so Ann Arbor, and so Dr. Ankerberg had a financial analysis done by a firm that does this, and it was gloom and bleak, and so there's a long process that started out. I think a lot of criticism, and rightly so, has been given to the administration and the Board of Regents because of the way they handled it February of 2024 through about May of 2024 initially. And I'm just going to tell you, and Dr. Ankerberg, if he was sitting here, would say this to you, it could have been done better. Mm-hmm. That's a fact. But today we are where we're at. And today what they're doing is everything on the main campus is going to be done after this academic year, and they're moving to the North Campus. And when Pat Ferry and Al Prochnow did all the stuff.
So they're downsizing.
They're downsizing, and they're moving the operations to the North Campus. The North Campus is where all the medical stuff is, and this is what Mequon brought to the table. Nursing, beautiful nursing facility up there, mm-hmm. PT, OT. They believe that those programs, once they got fully operational and running, would service the debt. They would mm-hmm. make enough money. And the claim is, we'll just got to keep waiting it out. You can't just keep throwing money in hopes that you're going to have this tipping point. And there's no evidence that that would have been the case. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, look, I grew up in Michigan. Ann Arbor, Concordia Ann Arbor. When I was a child, I'd go there and watch basketball. It was the college of my. Of course, I skipped over the pond and wrestled in Concordia, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is, from a business standpoint, something had to be done. And I think this is the problem. So, you have this Facebook page, Concordia Matters, where you get about 10 or 15 people that just keep railing every day on something new about.
You get snapshots of this. Oh, so although I don't have social media, I've got people that'll send me snapshots of things.
It's just, in some respects, it's almost exhausting because these same people say the same things about every topic.
Yeah.
And things like they destroyed the most confessional, fastest growing. So look, the statistics are true. CUAA was one of the fastest growing schools. But what none of these people want to talk about is 70 to 80% of the students that came in to help that growth were athletes. And those athletes cost 25 to 30% more because the academic students, you don't have all the overhead for coaches and for, uniforms and facilities and stuff. You had a lot of people donate money for fields and stuff. And these are great Christian people. And I don't want the main campus to be sold. Okay. But everybody wants to tell the world it. And I got into a little bit of a debate with one of these tyrants on Concordia Matters. And I told them, I said, you keep telling the world that I want to close this place. I don't want to close this place. I'm on record. I don't want to close Concordia Ann Arbor, but we can't keep operating it the way it is. And so Dr. Ankerberg is doing his best. And believe me, I'm involved in the conversation. Dr. Ankerberg and I talk regularly. He's a good man. He's doing his best. And unfortunately, because of the announcements of what we're going to do, the place it's really struggling. And I hope there's a way for us ultimately long-term on the North Campus to save the place.
So when you say North Campus.
So there's two campuses. You got the main campus on Gettys Road.
Okay.
You got property on both sides of Gettys Road. The Michigan District Office is on Concordia Ann Arbor property. And then about 1.5 miles, 2 miles to the north, the former Cooley Law School for the University of Michigan. We purchased that about 7-8 years ago, and that's the North Campus. It's its own building, parking lot, and the whole 9 yards. And so they're going to move all the operations to the North Campus.
Are they selling the South Campus?
Well, it's possible. Okay. It's not up right this moment, but it's on the docket as a possibility. To my knowledge, there is no written contract for the main property. There is an offer on the football field. I mean, I can say that, but there's no decisions made. There's no.
So if this were to play out, then the idea for Concordia Ann Arbor would be it's going to become a smaller, more specialized school.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, one of the things
that at that point
it'll resurge. It'll look. They have to bring back church work preparation. I mean, that's a must.
Where's their taking a 1 year preparation numbers compared to other?
Well,
Concordias?
Like right now, I think 225 is a part of the Mequon Ann Arbor number, but I think they only had like 20 or 30 church workers total of that 225.
Wow!
So yeah, it was not producing the way that the people want to say it was producing. And this is the other thing that these tyrants on Concordia Matters, they don't want to take into consideration. And by the way, the sad reality is one of these people that I'm talking about that are constantly blowing off in Concordia Matters is somebody I went to high school with, somebody who I never had any kind of conflict with them. But they just, and I won't mention their name. I'm not trying to call them out, but I won't say if it's a man or a woman. But they have a child that goes to CUAA. And I understand the emotions of their child's trauma over this. I do. I truly feel bad for these church work students. Some of them are going to have to transfer to Mequon. Some of them are going to try to go to other Concordias. Some of them are not going to go to a Concordia. I mean, so as bishop, I closed 8 churches.
Mm-hmm.
It's never a joy. It's never a pleasant thing. But I believe in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bible says where one door shuts, God opens the door in other places.